This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on government's push for Atmanirbharta in defence. The participants are Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, defence expert, and Ajay Banerjee, journalist.
General Kulkarni, the Defence Ministry has come out with another positive list to explain to our listeners is what is called a non-import list. It has around 928 items which will no more be imported. This includes subparts, assemblies and small components which are used by the military in various sorts of equipment. This is the fourth such list in the past 2 years. Around 2,500 subparts, assemblies and little components are now no more being imported. They are being made in India. This list is very exhaustive. It goes in a graded fashion. It is not that overnight it closes everything from import. But we'll like to ask General Kulkarni, how does he see this development?
I see this as very, very positive, Ajay. I think a step in the right direction. If we have to be self-reliant, if we have to be Atmanirbhar, as the capacity building takes time. But intentions can change overnight. And the best way is to prepare yourself. And preparation takes a long time. And as one has been hearing about CIPRI, despite all our efforts, have been saying that India is one of the largest importer of weapons. We have now to ensure we must be able to manufacture most of it. That context, like you rightly said, the fourth list, import of items have been prevented from coming into India. Of course, the import will not stop overnight. It will be over a period of time so that we can take time to absorb the technologies, start manufacturing in India. There are so many MCMEs which will be involved in these small critical technologies, like most of them involve parts, and these are line replacement units, subsystems and spares, the fighter aircraft, 10-air aircraft, warships, different types of ammunition. All of it takes time, but in the right direction, with a view to make India self-reliant, and we need not be depending on others, especially and primarily keeping in view the new geostrategic developments that are taking place in the world.
General Kulkarni, to put a perspective for our viewers, in the past three lists, there were around 2,500 items. Some of them are which are already indigenized, and the indigenized list includes almost 1,200 items which have already been indigenized in the past 2 years. This includes several such little products which are used, or subparts, assemblies as we use them in the military language, to build other or to aggregate into major military equipment. General Kulkarni, the Minister of Defence also yesterday said that this new non-import list of 928 items will lead to an import substitution of around rupees 715 crores. That means this amount will be spent in India and be used by Indian companies to make these very subparts and assemblies in India. General Kulkarni, right step in the Atmanirbharta direction. How do you see it?
100%. A step which I think was long overdue, but at least the government has decided. As I recollect, the amount of savings or the indigenization trust that was given in this last year was about 1 lakh crores. A year before that for something was 84,000 crores. A year before that was around 70,000 crores. To begin with was about 51,000 crores. So you find that in the previous year, the amount of money which is required to be spent, and over $75 billion is the defense budget. Even presuming 70% of it is revenue and 30% is capital. From that capital, imagine the capital procurement over 1 lakh of crores has been set aside only for indigenous. So it's a very big boost. And so slowly and steadily, now that 900 items have come up, you said over 2,500 items, slowly and steadily, we will find that this step towards Atmanirbharta, self-reliance, will ensure that preparation is there, operational readiness is there, nothing is compromised, and yet all of it is being manufactured in India. The FDI itself, which has stepped up from 49% to 74% on automatic route and 100% with government consent. So you find so much of collaboration between the private industries, the PSUs and the foreign firms. Therefore, the way the technologies will be moving into India, absorption of the technology, the way the employment will grow up, the number of MCMEs which will come up, all of this money is going to be spent in India. So this Make in India initiative for making defense absolutely Atmanirbhar, I think is a step in the right direction. It would take some time. There's no denying the fact it doesn't happen overnight, but at least it's an action in plan. I would say it's a fantastic forward-looking policy which will help these defense corridors in making India Atmanirbhar.
General Kulkarni, if I understand it, these non-import lists will do the following. One, it will allow us to be more self-reliant and be ready. The military, as it always wants, that should be readiness, should be at its peak. Point number 2, when we make it on our own, we save some foreign exchange. Point number 3, that when we are making it on our own, we will also be doing it for not just ourselves, but for others also. Are these the 3 broad points?
You're absolutely right. Preparation is the best form of defense, and obviously modernization is primarily attributed to having more income at our disposal. And what better thing than to be able to save our foreign exchange on importing the items for defense. We manufacture all of it because obviously defense imports are very costly and they are very capital intensive. So all of it being manufactured in India helps you save foreign exchange. Yes, it allows you to absorb technologies, learn technologies, and then be able to manufacture it of international standards over here. Acquisition of the new platform can be maintained in India. So everybody gets a boost, and you find maintenance, manufacturing, the supply line, you don't have to be dependent on anyone outside. All of it can be made at home within India, and the preparation is not affected.
General Kulkarni, there is a very sensitive subject to this. We are now saying we will not import and we are making our own fighter jet. We are making our own submarines. We are making our own warships. But still, we continue to be the largest importer of weapons in the world. The recent survey by the SIPRI, the Stockholm Institute of Peace and Research, has revealed in March this year that we are still the largest importer. We also an exporter. We exported around 15,000 crore worth of military equipment last fiscal. Is there a dichotomy in this, General Kulkarni?
What you've said is absolutely right. SIPRI does say that we are one of the largest importers, and at the same time, we are also saying we are exporting. When we are saying we are the largest importer, we are importing a sizable amount of military equipment. But as exporters, we've grown to just exporting about 15,000 crores worth of military equipment, of which ammunition is a substantial part. Now, this 15,000 has grown over the last about 2 years to almost 10 times, I would say in about just 6 or 7 years. Now, import of the other items, for instance, the fighter aircraft, the transport aircraft, the submarines, and the other equipment is very, very capital intensive. Now, all those imports over a period of time, I'm quite positive, will be reduced, and slowly and steadily. It won't happen overnight. It is very easy to buy equipment, but it is extremely difficult to maintain that equipment. And to maintain that equipment, if you have outsourced its maintenance again abroad to the firm from where you picked up that equipment, then it will be absolutely very, very expensive. And therefore, when you import, supposing now that we have imported the Rafale, but if all the Rafales can be maintained in India, and the spare parts of it can be manufactured in India without losing its technological edge, I think that's a win-win situation. So slowly and steadily, we will find that the import of all these items will reduce. We will start manufacturing in India, maintaining it in India, and even upgrade would be done in India. So all this saves money, and that precious foreign exchange can be used for other purposes rather than importing defense equipment. And that is the main purpose that we will continue to export also, which is 15,000 crores. I hope we turn 1 lakh crores very soon, and imports will reduce drastically. So we are not then the largest importer. We could well just become the 5th largest importer, and over a period of time may just become 11th or 12th or the 13th importer of the defense equipment. So be it. There will be certain technologies we may find it difficult to make in India, and we may have to be importing those defense platforms. But basically, it would be to help India save our foreign exchange and also encourage MCMEs within India to be able to manufacture things of international standards. We have the capacity, we have the capability, and we must pursue with that ability for Atmanirbharta.
General Kulkarni, very short question. How much time will it take for us to be, say, 90% Atmanirbhar or even 75% Atmanirbhar?
At least 15 to 20 years, if you ask me. At least 15 to 20 years. And that is why you find that all these import lists have been drawn up to December 29th. That this time has been given for us to absorb technologies, to start manufacturing equipment which is of international standards and does not deteriorate the existing equipment. So it takes time. So if you think that anything and everybody is saying, import can be banned from tomorrow itself or from 2024, it is not possible. We ought to have done this at least 40 years back. Then probably today we would have said that we don't need to import anything. Even the topmost countries will be importing something or the other because it's very difficult to keep pace with, and maybe import sometimes works out cheaper than manufacturing it in your own country. Notwithstanding that, but yes, for us, as since we are the largest importer of the military equipment, at least 15 years minimum it should take for us to reach the Atmanirbharta of at least 75 to 90%.
General, when we talk about a non-import list, it's very exhaustive. I've been through the list. They talk about a helicopter engine, making a new range of helicopters in India. We are making a advanced light helicopter and its versions in India. But now we want to make a heavier helicopter. So far we are importing the heavier helicopters from Russia and some also from the US. How far do you think this can be a reality? And how much will be the role of the private sector and the MSMEs in this?
See, as regards feasibility of doing all this in India, it will take time, but yes, it is feasible. A step in the right direction has been taken, be it for aircraft, be it for shipbuilding, be it for submarines, be it for small arms, be it for artillery. All of it is being now manufactured in India. There is a tremendous amount of capability and ability to manufacture items as per the GSQR laid down by the Ministry of Defence for any equipment that is being told to our private industry. If you have given them a time frame, within that time frame, they're able to deliver the stuff that we have ordered on them. And therefore, the capability exists, the capacities are there now for us to deliver. At the same time, to ensure that we continue with this, there's a need to keep giving them supply orders. So there has to be little tweaking of our own defense procurement is concerned. Because once you've given them, and if you don't give them their next order, they've established huge set of factories, and you find that the next order has not come to them, it's gone to somebody else. You have to ensure that the factories which have been established, which are very capital intensive, must keep running. And for that matter, it's essential that orders must be continuously placed. Small orders must continue to go to all these firms which have put in tremendous amount of investment if we really have to go towards Atmanirbharta, and at the same time ensure that at least we achieve 75 to 90% of Atmanirbharta in at least 15 years. Otherwise, we would be ending up doing nothing. Make in India is a serious project, and this seriousness must be seen in today's context.
General Kulkarni, when we talk about the seriousness of the project and how do we do it, the industry has its own issues with regards to orders. They need confirmed orders to start manufacturing money, because at the end of the day, money is what runs these factories. What all changes you reckon have been done by the Ministry of Defence with regards to attracting more private industry into the defence sector, which is very capital intensive?
See, first and foremost, our own defense corridors which are coming up, so that at least we attract the best of talent and everything is given to them at rates which are reasonable, and everybody in the government understands that all of this defense industry is very, very capital intensive, and hence whatever the orders that are placed on, I personally would say that they must have a lien on the next order which has been given, maybe 25% of the next, or be able to cope up with the manufacturer. The user must sync in one with the other, so that future developments on that, any upgrades that have to be coming on that equipment are done quickly. And we must be able to see that the futuristic requirement of, say, a particular artillery equipment is of, say, 1,000 pieces are required. Rather than giving them an order of 1,000 and saying them, please deliver by 2029, it would be better that we spill over a long period of time, so that the cost that they have incurred is also spread over, and at the same time, we get the entire equipment as we require for the artillery, and the spares for the existing ones are also being supplied. So it has to be an excellent sync between the user and the manufacturer, so that both of them look at each other and dependability on each other, with the view that, you can just give a call to the firms in India that, look, we want the following things to be done. Because the corporatization of the ordnance factories also would help us, because they would be able to deliver. At the same time, the private industries are there now to back up the manufacturing. So are some of the PSUs which are there for backing up. Huge number of MCMEs will come up these defense corridors. So all in all, I think coordination between all of them, the user and the manufacturer, involving all these agencies which are there, will greatly help in ensuring that the user gets the best, does not suffer with as regards the quality is concerned, and the manufacturer doesn't suffer for idling around because it has supplied what it has to, and thereafter it has nothing very much to do other than give you spares. So that is also not a correct thing. So everybody, it should be a win-win situation with the view to help the private industry and at the same time to help the manufacturer, the user, to get the best that he wants, whatever the best is available in the world.
Yes, you put it rightly, General Kulkarni. 2,500 items to be made in India. Non-import list was expanded by 928 items 2 days ago, and it will mean that all these items will be made in India. These are military equipment, subsystems, subparts, assemblies which are used in military equipment. General Kulkarni, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you. Jai Hind.
You were listening to a discussion on government's push for Atmanirbharta in defense. The participants were Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, defense expert, and Ajay Banerjee, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official.